A family is vacationing on their yacht in the middle of the Caribbean Sea. Mom, Julia, jumps into the water for a swim. While relaxing, she starts feeling something strange. But since she doesn't see anything around, she thinks maybe it's just her imagination. A few seconds later, the weird feeling comes back. Again, she doesn't see anything. Now she gets scared and starts swimming back to the yacht. Suddenly, someone grabs her leg and she starts screaming for help. Her daughter, Casey, is listening to music with headphones on, so you can't hear anything. Tom and their son, Ben, are busy fishing. Julia is trying to stay afloat, but it's hard for her to shout because water keeps going into her mouth. After a while, Tom realizes he hasn't seen Julia for a while. He looks for her on the raft and then sees his wife in trouble. He calls the kids over, takes the raft toward her, and jumps into the water. He quickly reaches Julia, supports her, and swims back to the raft. The kids pull them both up. Julia is trying to keep it together, but she tells herself maybe it was just because of the waves. That night, everyone gets together to celebrate Ben's birthday. Casey gets a call from her boyfriend, so she takes her laptop and steps outside. On the video call, her boyfriend shows her huge dark clouds gathering over the city. Then the call glitches and freezes. Casey comes back inside to tell everyone, but Tom says it's probably just a weak signal because they're far from the ground. Suddenly, they all hear a noise. They go outside and see a group of whales. The group is passing by. Tom explains that whales always follow the Earth's magnetic field, but when a storm hits, they get confused. Suddenly, the raft shakes violently and Ben falls off. Tom gets worried that Yach might be hurt, so he dives down to check. After a while, he comes back up to the surface, but he has a big wound on his shoulder. Julia quickly stitches up his injury. Tom says that underwater, he felt like something huge was right behind him, but when he turned around, it was the propeller. There's a cut. He says whatever it was huge. Tom sees a lot of damage on the yacht, so they have to call for help. Julia keeps trying on the radio. Casey looks for a signal on the phone, but nothing works. Then Casey spots a weird creature and screams, but it's just Ben wearing a mask. A little later, the yacht completely shuts down and gets stuck in the middle of the sea. Julia hears a voice on the radio, but it's so distorted she can't make out what it's saying. Now Tom tells the family they only have enough food and water for 4 days, and they'll have to wait for a fishing boat. Suddenly, something shows up on the radar, and the family hears a strange noise. They all rush outside and are shocked to see a bunch of meteors falling to the ground. Wherever the meteors hit, there are big explosions. One meteor crashes into the water near them, so Tom quickly tries to start the yacht. The engine barely starts, but then another meteor hits the area. The family clutches each other in fear. Then Tom realizes that the fireballs falling aren't meteorites, but satellites. Just then, Ben notices smoke coming from the yacht. Tom checks and confirms the engine has failed. The wind picks up, so the family hides inside the yacht. Without noticing the compass is spinning very fast, the yacht begins to shake violently. Ben falls again, this time hurting himself. Waves are crashing against the yacht. Tom struggles. He goes out and gets the life jackets. Just then, the power goes out. Tom immediately presses the power box button, and the lights come back on. Ben then notices Julia's nose is bleeding. Julia begins to feel dizzy, while Casey goes to the sink and vomits. Tom keeps trying the radio, but there's no signal. Suddenly, a loud, high-pitched noise comes, and the wind becomes even stronger. Julia tries to close the doors, but a hatch opens, and the wind starts breaking the windows. Tom lights a flare, and after a while, darkness falls. The next morning, the family wakes up in shock, having survived the storm, but the yacht is half destroyed. When they emerge, they see that the seawater has disappeared, and the yacht is now stuck on the ground. Everyone is shocked. Casey checks her signal, but the network is completely down. Ben starts playing with 2 dead crabs. Tom checks his compass and sees that it is upside down. This last happened 700,000 years ago. Casey thinks her boyfriend may have died and is devastated. When Casey tries to explain, she brushes her off and goes into hiding. Julia and Tom look at the remaining supplies. Ben ties his birthday balloons to a rock in the hope of spotting any remaining survivors. Tom tries the radio again, this time connecting with a man named Now, a submarine captain. His submarine is also stuck on land. He confirms that the magnetic poles have reversed, causing the ocean to retreat and the land to sink. He says he hasn't seen any more survivors yet, and communication systems are completely down. He also says that the poles will reverse again, and the sea will probably recede within a week. He warns the family to get as high as possible because when the water returns, it will be very dangerous. He says that his partner died in the crash, and the submarine only has room for 3 people. Julia and Tom ask him to please save their children. He gives them his coordinates. Tom calculates calculates that it will take 2 to 3 days to reach the submarine. He tells the family, "Get a good rest tonight. We'll leave tomorrow morning." The next morning, the family's packing when Tom sees something moving nearby. It's a lame man with a harpoon in his hand and a dog barking incessantly. Tom goes over to him and offers him a bottle of water, but the man speaks in a language Tom can't understand. After drinking the water, the stranger suddenly smashes the bottle over Tom's head and kicks him hard in the face. Julia runs away in fear, but it's too late. The harpoon pierces Tom's stomach. Tom struggles for a moment, then the man slits his neck. Then the man runs after Julia and throws the harpoon at her, injuring her shoulder. Julia, grimacing, runs inside the yacht and tells the children to hide. She locks the door. Casey and Ben hide under the sofa. Julia hands them the flare gun and takes a knife and hides in the bathroom. The man bangs on the door and finally gets in. First, he wants to eat something. He picks it up and begins searching around the yacht. He then heads for the bathroom, but Julia discreetly slips out through a small hole. The man thinks Julia has run away, but as she slowly leaves, his dog spots her and starts barking. The dog lunges at her, so Julia kills it with a knife. Hearing the dog scream, the man comes out and is enraged to see his dog's corpse. Meanwhile, Julia tries to get in from the other side of the yacht. She climbs up and tries to sneak in through the broken window, but the man is already there. He grabs her and punches her hard, knocking her down. Julia tries to escape by grabbing onto furniture, but the man kicks her away. Then he steps on her wrist, forcing her to drop the knife. Then he grabs her by the hair, slams her face into the ground, throws her onto the couch, and starts choking her. The children are watching all this. Casey gets out and fires a flare gun, which hits the man directly. He catches fire, and the yacht begins to blaze. They immediately run away, but Julia returns. She kicks him, knocks him out. She picks up the map and bag and runs away. Ben and Casey go to their father and start crying. Julia sits with them, and together the three of them say a tearful goodbye to Tom. Just then, the scary man emerges from the yacht again, and the family starts running again. Moments later, the yacht explodes with a loud bang. After a short walk, they stop near a small waterfall to rest. Casey thinks that perhaps the madman came to them after seeing the balloons. Hearing this, Ben starts blaming himself. Julia explains to him that it was not his fault and tells everyone to move on because the man is still after them. On the way, Ben is shocked to see a dead hammerhead shark near a small pond. Then Julia notices that the man is about to close in on them again. Everyone runs and falls down a sand dune where they see toxic waste. The family carefully crosses it and thinks they've gotten rid of that man. As they walk, they see large dead sea animals and a lot of plastic accumulated at the bottom of the sea. Ben starts walking slowly, so Julia realizes he's close to dehydration. She tells everyone to stop. She's shocked when she sees the water bottle. The water in the bottle is almost gone. Casey realizes she probably didn't close it properly. Julia angrily shouts that her carelessness is the reason the water ran out. Casey replies, "What difference does it make? We're not going to survive anyway." The two have a long argument. Still, the family continues on. A little while later, they find a crashed plane. Everyone is frightened by something moving inside, but it's just some birds. The family decides to spend the night inside the plane. They share a snack, and Julia finds a family photo in Tom's jacket. Seeing it breaks her heart. Casey asks, "Mom, what was your and Dad's love story?" Julia smiles and tells her, "Tom was my patient at the hospital. One day he confessed his love to her with flowers and a sweet poem." Casey exits the plane in the middle of the night. Just then, the creepy man tries to grab her from behind, but Julia suddenly attacks him from behind and stabs him repeatedly, killing him. Casey embraces her mother and calms her down. The next morning, the man's corpse is infested with insects. The family notices numerous bite marks, suggesting a dangerous creature is lurking in the area. As they leave, crabs emerge from their mouths. They get out. A few hours later, Julia and Casey are looking at a map, but Ben slowly passes by. Julia yells, "Stop!" But Ben leans into a pond and starts drinking water. Julia immediately pulls him out and explains that the unknown water could make him sick. The sun becomes too hot, so the family covers their heads with clothes. Ben starts feeling dizzy. Then they find some old chairs, and Julia and Casey make a temporary shelter out of them. Julia gives Ben an injection, and they decide to spend the night there. In the morning, Julia wakes up to a strange noise. She looks outside and sees a large group of crabs heading towards them. She immediately picks up the children, and the three start running. As they run, they spot a large cargo ship. 3 crew members are alive there. A woman tries to help them, but the other 2 men refuse and lock the container, leaving the 3 families outside. The crabs approach. Julia leads the children onto the container. When she herself tries to climb, Crabs bites her leg hard. The children pull her up, otherwise she would have fallen. Half of the crabs enter through a hole in the container. The crew members open fire, but Crabs overpowers them and kills both. The last man reaches the hole in the ceiling, but Crabs pulls him down, and he too dies. Julia bandages her wound and falls unconscious. When she wakes up some time later, she finds herself alone in a sandstorm. She panics and starts searching for the children. She picks up a dead woman's weapon and screams loudly. Casey hears her voice and returns, revealing that she and Ben went looking for help but couldn't find anyone. They then meet Ben, who finds an open container where they can stay until the storm passes. Julia takes Tom's lighter and cauterizes her wound, which is extremely painful. After the storm subsides, they find another container containing several water bottles. While checking the bodies, they also find a radio and a gun. Julia contacts Now and tells him that the map is lost. Now explains that they were attacked by arthropods, creatures that have gone completely mad due to lack of oxygen. Now tells the family to hurry because his instruments have calculated that the sea will return sooner than expected, and they only have a few hours left. He shoots a flare, and the family starts walking in that direction. After a long walk, the family finds a broken toilet in which Ben urinates. They finally see the submarine nearby, but to get there, they must cross a steep, rocky path. As they cross, the walls begin to shake and stones fall, causing a terrifying rock slide. Julia immediately pushes her children aside and steps back herself to avoid being crushed. Now a rock wall stands between them. Julia tells the children to go ahead without her, but Casey refuses, insisting that her mother should try to climb. After much arguing and shouting, Julia promises, she says she'll find her children later. Helplessly, Casey pulls her brother along. The children climb the rocky path and run to the submarine. But when they get there, they find the boat lying outside in a pool of blood. He explains that it's all over for him and the children can take the submarine now. Thinking there's an extra spot, Casey runs back to find her mother. Just then, Julia sees crabs coming and opens fire. She kills a few, but the swarm is too large to fight them all. Just then, Casey falls into the wall. When a ship appears above the boat and extends a hand, Julia begins to climb quickly, despite her injured leg. With Casey's help, she reaches the other side and together they run towards the submarine. Ben is already standing above and opens fire to distract the crabs while the family climbs up. As soon as the crabs reach the boat's hull, they immediately begin eating it. Julia picks up her gun and continues firing until the children get inside. When they are safe, Julia realizes she has run out of bullets, so she throws the gun at the crabs and gets inside with her children. The family locks the hatch securely and watches crabs swarm around the submarine through the window. Just then, the sea returns, and the three quickly sit in their seats, buckle up, and hold each other's hands. The strong waves begin to toss the submarine around violently. Julia begins to see visions of the entire journey, and Casey vomits. Soon, the high-pitched sound returns, and the family falls unconscious. After a while, Julia and the children regain consciousness. They arrive and are delighted to find themselves alive. They unlock the hatch and exit to find the waves have crashed the submarine into a devastated city. This means there's hope for survival and a new life, and the film ends here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to keep receiving more fun videos like this. Thanks for watching.